Life's Learning Curve, episode 36.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to Life's Learning Curve, season 2, episode 36. I'm Paul Hart, former educator and current media producer, writer, editor. This is a podcast about finding the best person we can be in our lives, the best us. So today I'm glad you're here with us. You're in for quite a treat, I believe. True story, as always. And let's suppose this. You're in a burning plane. It's going down, and you're the person in charge. Not literally, but these are the things that nightmares are made of.
Oh no.
So on today's episode, I'm going to retell a true story about a time my friend Steve and I were going to produce a documentary, but
Wildwater.
there was a problem. Oh, a big problem. Communication, oh so important. In today's episode, we're going to retell this true story. All this and a whole lot more. So, stand by. Sebastian.
Life's Learning Curve. Your host, Paul Hart. Episode, Wildwater Doc. Stand by.
I was in a point in my life where I wanted to branch out and produce and edit and market my own documentary. I wanted to create something that might help other people and try and find a better version of themselves. Why? Well, these thoughts began to creep into my mind after meeting and spending some time and talking with Key West author and inspirer, to me at least, and probably to a lot of others, Clay Greager, around 2002. I had been highly motivated by Clay the 2 previous summers I had gone to Key West on vacation. He seemed to have found this quality to his life and found this place to exist and let life play out as he observed it and played with it, kind of, in story form. Clay had mentors in his life and in his writing. And these were the people that helped him transition from place to place. He often stressed these mentors, often referenced them while speaking. Never, not once, did I ever feel they were telling him what to do, but rather just kind of guiding him. They were there for reference. They would guide him through life's waters. And let me tell you, that is a distinction with people of higher intelligence. I'm not saying that's true with me. I'm saying of people with higher intelligence, and they thrive and excel by soliciting recommendations or questions or asking questions from other like-kind people. He was always doing that. That was a key thing I learned at the time in my life. You don't have to do it all by yourself. Oh, you can if you want. But there are people out there. They're actually probably in your life already. And if you look, they're almost placed there to guide you, inspire you, and to motivate you. Simplified, you could either connect with these people and progress down life's road with that feeling of joy and engagement, and everything is going to be better. I've got people with me, behind me. Or you can remain stagnant while you're fighting life's daily battles all by yourself. In my mind, Clay was a terrifically bright man that had come from very humble beginnings, and he had learned to embrace changes and adventures early on in his life and throughout his life. After making that decision, the decision when he was younger, just out of high school, that he would leave the family coal mine in Pennsylvania. I don't know if it's fair to say abandon, but he would make the decision to do so. He was just out of high school, like I said, and he left home and enlisted in the U.S. Army and soon found himself deep in the jungles, sometimes the bloody jungles of 1965 Vietnam. Clay felt the experience was amazing at first. Travel, see the world, meet new people, and it all beat working in a Shamokin coal mine day after day, going down into the mine, and at night coming out, coughing up coal dust. So, beautiful and tropical Vietnam, without a war, it's beautiful and tropical. It certainly beat working in the Pennsylvania coal mines. Now, later experiences in Vietnam would alter his perceptions about Vietnam and the war and things like that, but he still found adventure and some great people who befriended him, and they saw something special in him when he was so young. They took the time to pull him away and show him things that far exceeded the Pennsylvania coal mine lifestyle. Life skills, from ordering a drink at a bar to attending social events and the like. These upper Army, higher-ranking individuals taught Clay things. Now, after listening to Clay's life experiences as he retold them to me, I saw how other people had made his life jump. It leapt up to another station in life. Now, it turned out that Clay's simple background was just fine, but thanks to the courage to try something very new, his courage, possibly very dangerous, enlisting in the Army and the whole Vietnam experience, he discovered that he had so much more to offer. He carried that perspective throughout his life, and so far it has taken him many, many places. Things he would have never thought he would have done, he's done. So after talking with Clay in 2002, in the early 2000s, I was inspired. And I decided it was okay for me to look beyond my own horizons. Working in the world of video, which is not like going to Vietnam and being in a war, I understand that, but expanding my own horizons, looking at it from my perspective, where I was at, I wanted to create something that might help other people to try and recognize themselves better, discover a better version of themselves. But I knew I needed mentors because Clay said that was essential, and I thought, yeah. So at that time, I considered my family to be my mentors. I sourced my family. At that time, they were the people that knew me best. My father was a widower at the time, and he was putting so much effort every day into making every day matter and every day count. I saw him frequently, and he and I became, as we got older, we became friends, which is something I wish for all fathers and sons out there. So fortunate. My sister was in HR as an executive, and she was a major player in a corporation. She thrived on keeping her company's workers safe, respected, and in a climate of well-intended purpose. Her company had purchased a motivational video called Fish. Okay, that's the real name, Fish with an exclamation point. It was heavily copywritten, protected, and pricey, simple in concept, but very, very effective, and just excellent. It was a great tool. The producers of this video applied how a positive attitude and personal motivation, and you can bring that to work with you every day if you can. If you can muster that up, and if you can do that, it can make or break your workday. And plus, it's going to make the day of somebody else. It was an amazing video. Simple, it seems, right? The charm of this video came from the people at its setting. They set it at Pike's Place Fish Market. The video still exists today as a motivational tool, and to me, it's still just more than that. It's probably more necessary than ever in present day. But I recommend it. It's my recommendation from the podcast. Take a look at it, fishphilosophy.com. Shameless promotion, not being paid to promote it. I just think it's exceptional. Now, inspired by the fish video, I looked at trying to create something entirely different, diverse from the fish video, but I like the motivational part of things. I wanted something from the perspective in which I could maybe help other people find the best person that they could be. Once again, kind of like this podcast, trying to find the best person we can be through storytelling.
Life learning curve.
My friend from back in college, Steve. Steve and his family of 4 had just come home from a vacation in West Virginia in the summertime, early summer, 2003. And they had shot down the Whitewater Rapids and had a family wilderness adventure. You probably will remember Steve if you follow this podcast. He was in an earlier episode, a 2-parter called Tropical Turpitude, where his drinking and bad behavior halted our Key West documentary faster than a bullet exits a revolver. Simile. However, today's story with Steve takes place a year prior to the Key West calamity. All right, so Steve and his wife Sandy shared with me just how much fun they had had jumping off a high cliff into the water, the river, to begin the rafting trip. It showed the courage that they were going to have to undergo to participate. At that point, Steve's wife Sandy had to overcome her fear of heights, which kept her from jumping in the water for quite a while, but she finally did. When the whole trip was over, once the family was home back in the Midwest, Steve shared his whitewater rafting experience with me.
Paul, let me tell you, this is fantastic. 4 gung-ho, experienced river guides happily took the lead as my family of 4 had to work as a team to slalom down that river left and right. We rafted down the river, and eventually we hit the dangerous whitewater rapids. So fun. Whoa, crazy. I fell out twice. We camped by the river at night, just kind of pulled over off in this area. And the guides cooked us up this simple but really tasty meal. We were tired, we were cold, but you feel like you've done something after making it down the river. The huge fire warmed us all up really quick.
My mind flashed to a terrible scene from a movie called Deliverance, where unfortunate river rafters ran into some locals while trying to raft in whitewater.
The whole excursion lasted a couple of wild days and left my family really exhausted, but we just kept talking about it after it was all over. We were fueled by that excitement and the adrenaline for days after that. Kind of scary while you're whitewater rafting. You're kind of scared, but it's oh so rewarding after it's over, the completion. You feel like you've done something.
Congratulations, Raptor.
You made it.
Now, I could tell that Steve had loved it. He had done something he felt he probably wasn't capable of doing, or he felt that it was something that he could never accomplish, but he did.
Oh, yeah.
After Steve finished retelling his grand adventure, he looked to me and he asked me how my brainstorming was going regarding a creation of a video project that I had been working on, stressing how people might help themselves, try and find a better version of themselves, conquer their fears, work as a team, enjoy life's ride. I answered Steve and I said, I'm still brainstorming, Steve. But I'll tell you what, I'm really close. I can just feel it. I'm ready to roll on this very soon. Steve immediately returned to his most recent adventure story of the whitewater rafting team in West Virginia.
Oh, yeah, Paul. Sorry I'm still talking about this, but they're a great bunch of river guides. They're full of personalities, funny. Hey, could you write a show, like a motivational type video, and then apply it to the river rafting goals to life, something like that?
Huh.
Yeah.
I did think about it. I paused and thought, people do support what they help create.
Wildwater documentary.
I watched Steve's family video after that, and I soon saw that this adventure was the real deal, even for the bravest, most extreme sports person. Shooting the rapids, whitewater, people falling out of the rafts, struggling to save themselves, working together as a team. An outline practically wrote itself. Teamwork, enjoying the ride, courage, setting personal goals. It was all there. Immediately, I gained control of my time by making lists in 3 categories. 1, money-making activities. 2, client-based relationships. And 3, other. Always put other in. Now, based on Steve's recommendation, he said that he would call the Rampant Rapids Rafting Adventures Team in West Virginia. Hard to say. That's the name of the place. Steve told me,
Oh, they'll remember me and my family. These guys are so good, so personal. They're just that way, Paul.
I began to organize a game plan immediately for the shoot, coordinating our schedules, starting to come right into place. Steve and I decided to try and go back to West Virginia to shoot this in early to late July and pick up all the necessary shots from the shot list as we needed them. We would plan on being in the rustic, dense woods of West Virginia for probably 3, 4, 5 weeks, something like that. Steve and I would drive there beginning July 1st and initiate the motivational video. When we really got into the swing of things, we would add 2 more camera people, interns from West Virginia Film Connection.
Oh, this is great, Paul. I'll call the company owner, Tim is his name, of the Rampant Rapids Rafting Adventures Group as soon as I get home. I promise. I'll tell him we want to shoot a movie.
Motivational video.
Whatever.
Like a small child anxious and wishful on Christmas Eve, Steve practically jumped up and down and clapped. He was happy to go back. Once again, Steve promised me, underlined, he would phone the Rampant Rapids Rafting Adventures Group in West Virginia and speak to their business educator and leader, Tim. Steve would inquire if his business wanted to participate in our
Wildwater dock,
as well as get some free publicity. Okay, sounds good.
I'll tell him. I'll call and tell Tim. I'll say all the Rampant Rapids has to do is just what you guys normally do in our filming production. I'll tell him what our team will do. We'll just do the rest. We'll pick up the shots we need.
Now, little did I know that was the climax of the idea and entire project that I had in mind. Here's what happened. For the next 3 weeks, every day, I called Steve to see if he had called the Rampant Rapids Rafting Adventures Group. He never did.
Steve, did you call Rampant Rapids today? It's been 3 weeks.
No, but I mowed the lawn.
I began to tense up.
Paul, these guys are so nice. This is what you don't understand. They're friendly. They're just the type that even if we just show up and pay that day, I know they'd let us shoot this.
Beginning to really stress, I took the responsibility at that point to call their number on my new cell flip phone. I did call them, but I always got owner Tim's voicemail. I left quite a few messages, but never received a return call or email or text or Facebook message. I wondered if they were still in business.
Hello?
Steve, it's Paul. I can't reach the Rampant Rapids Rafting Adventures place.
Oh, why are you calling? That's my job. I know the guys.
Steve, we're going to leave for West Virginia in days. I think we're down to 2 days. Connect with Tim. I'm trying too. It's important. We need the whitewater experience on video to make this concept work.
Well, there's 2 other river rafting hotspots in West Virginia. We could just go there and shoot it instead.
I sighed nervously. I felt like I was in a school bus slowly driving off a cliff. Simile. Now, Steve really wanted to be back in West Virginia. As time passed, it seemed to start smelling fishy, sketchy, or just plain red flaggish to me, but I knew Steve, and he'd always been upfront and good in the past, so he's never led me astray. So I went with it. So knowing that my cameras and my equipment would be in water-drenched rafts, I had purchased underwater housing for 2 cameras, underwater travel cases to keep everything else dry, and a waterproof housing for audio mics, which is really unusual. But you have to spend money to make money, and that's what I was doing. I couldn't just ruin my equipment. I had to protect it. So there was that investment. I expected to at least easily make my money back for equipment and for travel. Nope. I openly talked to Steve about his lack of connection with
Why are you not calling?
West Virginia. His lack of connection with everything else that was his responsibility, or he wanted the responsibility.
You said you knew these guys.
The stress that was building in me
I'll do it.
was horrible. I was unsure of even doing this project at all at that point. He needed to know that I was addressing all of the production issues. It was not just a show up and shoot thing. Just addressing it can make a big difference, usually. As we got closer and closer to the day that we had to leave, the Midwest, July 1st, I still had not heard from any of the 3 businesses, the rafting businesses.
What's going on?
My stress and anxiety were at the breaking point.
Risk.
Sleepless nights had only increased my concerns. Too much risk. It's too much risk, I thought.
Risk.
I became obsessed
What am I gonna do?
with the camera and the equipment and how much there was to lose in this. Risk of not getting approval to shoot any of this once we got there. Risk of my financial investment. I was in it 100%. There was nobody else that had put out money for this. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, what kind of an idiot are you to keep working on this? I had trust and I had faith. Very naive. Steve would work as a co-producer and a cameraman, although I have to say his co-producer skills weren't very great up to this point. He hadn't done what he was asked. Frequently, I asked Steve to explain his role back to me so that I was sure he understood it.
I got it.
Finally, June 30th. My SUV was packed for this shoot. We would leave tomorrow morning at 4 a.m. with a crew of just Steve and I for then. The others would be added once we got out east. However, I was a complete mess. To me, it was like going hiking in the mountains, but when you get there, the mountains might not even be there anymore. At 11 o'clock the night before we were to leave, I found myself outside my house pacing, talking to myself, and considering possibilities and outcomes. For a big video shoot like this, more time is needed to invest in understanding the value.
Too much risk.
So, around 11:30 p.m., the night before we were to leave, I called Steve and I canceled the entire project.
It's canceled.
Steve was quite angry.
What? You have wasted my time and my effort.
Which was really funny to me because thus far it had been 100% my effort trying to make connections at the Rampant Rapids rafting adventures, and 100% my money, my budget, my financial input, I should say, buying the necessary waterproof housings, and my time writing and outlining and checking up on him to see if he had actually called Rampant Rapids Rafting Adventures Group. Steve said,
You wasted my time, Paul. I'm not very happy. You gotta trust me. Now what am I going to do with the next 4 weeks of my life? Stay at home?
Actually, I have too much to lose here. You are my guide to get there and my connection to meeting the people. We never actually had a real connection out east. Just your whim of what might happen if we all just show up.
Steve angrily hung up the phone. Now, many years later, I found out that Steve had other interests in that area in West Virginia, and he wanted to get back there for other reasons. What reasons? Well, I'll tell you what, if you listen to the episode of Life's Learning Curve called Tropical Turpitude, go back to the list of episodes, you're going to discover the secretive motivations behind Steve's decisions to return to West Virginia. And they didn't have anything to do with whitewater rafting. A couple of months later, at the end of the summer, I did get a phone call from Tim, the owner of Rampant Rapids Rafting Adventures. He declined our video shoot, and he told me,
We're out to make our business season as profitable as possible. There would be just no time or space for your project, plus the liabilities outside our standard release form.
That I could understand. It made really good sense to me from a business perspective. So Later, I told Steve that Tim had called, but I don't think Steve believed me because Steve said,
Oh, yeah? Well, Tim called me, too, and he said it would be fine for us to come and shoot a movie.
Motivational video.
Whatever.
Now, as for me, I took that outline and I applied it to another project late that summer. So the Rampant Rapids rafting adventure actually should have been titled Steve's Non-Existent Fantasy Phone Call Adventure. It would have been better. So, what's the takeaway from all this? What did I learn? Although this faux pas was mainly about Steve, I didn't realize that until the whole Key West documentary thing the next year. At that time, I learned to rely only on myself for the most specific business connections. Set clear goals and objectives, and keep an eye on my money. It's so hard to come by money, and it leaves so quickly. I also learned to keep my mentors involved. Unlike Clay, I had not been at ease taking recommendations from people I trusted. I never even asked them about the rafting video. I should have. A group of like-minded people can sometimes easily see what you don't, which proved to be all true in this story. And guess what? Big secret here. I don't know everything. Never have. True for all of us. For Life's Learning Curve, I'm Paul Hart.
Subscribe to Life's Learning Curve at lifeslearningcurve.org and leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or Podchaser. Life's Learning Curve is produced by Paul Hart, technical director Heidi Cerner, supervising producers Sebastian T. Dog, Booker McMahon, and Hunter Metschke. Some names and voices were changed for entertainment purposes. Editor on today's show, Paul Richards. Audio, as always, Riley Hart. On this episode, special thanks to Clay Greager. Find our website at lifeslearningcurve.org. Help us grow and continue by liking us on Facebook and listen to us where you're listening right now, of course, and practically everywhere else podcasts are heard. From all the crew here at the Late Late Shift, I'm Paul Hart, and we will be back soon with more from Life's Learning Curve.
We're clear.